Welcome everyone to this series, Improving Customer Lifetime Value with Machine Learning. This is the second presentation of a four-part series that will discuss all the phases of the customer journey and some of the ways that machine learning can help during these phases. For today's agenda, we'll have a brief round of introductions about who we are, what we do, and then we'll talk about the acquisition phase of the customer journey and how machine learning can help us acquire new clients. I will give a practical example of machine learning used to maximize the number of new acquisitions by using a case study from one of our clients. And finally, I will briefly introduce part 3 of this series. I am Francesco Sguanci, and I lead the data science team here at Dunn Solutions. Dunn Solutions is a digital commerce and business transformation consultancy, and we have been in business since 1989. And are headquartered just right outside of Chicago, but we also have operations in Minneapolis and Bangalore, India. Our business model is to deliver velocity to our clients. And you may remember back from your Physics 101 that velocity is a combination of direction and speed. And we provide direction through our analytics services and speed to market by helping clients automate their business processes. We truly are a 360-degree digital commerce and transformation consultancy because in addition to providing analytics and marketing automation solutions, we also help clients integrate them in their digital platform. So from there, the cycle starts all over again. And we do help with all the stages of this process, and we refer to this as the virtuous cycle of customer engagement. All right, and now back to the topic. We already discussed the pre-purchase stage in the previous webinar. And now what we discussed last time is that the subject in that stage is considering our products, perhaps even engaging with a company on some high level, but he or she is not generating value yet. Post-purchase stage, whose 4 phases are the topics of the next 3 webinars, really focuses on the value that customers generate as long as they remain engaged. Now, we measure that value using the customer lifetime formula, which is very straightforward. At a very high level, it is profits from the newly acquired customers, plus increasing profits and future profits from existing customers, minus the profits that will be lost due to some customers leaving us, minus the marketing spend. Now, the focus of this webinar is on this first part of the CLTV equation, because you can't have future profits from newly acquired customers unless, obviously, you acquire new customers. Now, customer acquisition is not easy, and many marketing campaigns are not as effective as they could or should be because they fail to reach the right market audience. And finding the right prospects, the right people to market to, is one of the most common uses of machine learning methodologies. However, it's also the pitfall of many predictive engagements because there's a lot of confusion about this topic. The confusion is whether machine learning is even needed, or how accurate the model should be, or even how to use the results. So I want to try and address some of these issues in the following slides. Now, the goal is not for the audience to completely understand the ins and outs, but to get a high-level sense and appreciation for the complexity of this kind of engagement. First of all, who are the right people that I should reach out to with my marketing campaign? By right, we mean the people that are most likely to respond to a marketing offer. Now, finding them is like a game of guess who, and machine learning can analyze and weigh all the clues you give it and give you the absolute best guess. So let's talk a little more about this game of guess who. Let's say that you are a salesman and you are at a business conference with 100 entrepreneurs. Now, let's also assume that 10 of these people would buy your product if you were to approach them and if you were to give them your sales pitch. Now, the key is, to you, these people are just a bunch of faces, right? You don't know who the 10 buyers are. Now, let's also assume that you only have enough time to make exactly 10 pitches. So every pitch is 30 minutes and you only have 5 hours at that conference, right? You cannot make more than 10 pitches. Now, this is a key point, and it addresses the first issue. Do I even need a strategy like machine learning? Well, let's think about this. In this example, you are constrained by time. You only can give 10 pitches and you don't have any more time than that. But if you did have more time and you had enough energy and say, or if you said, forget it, you know what, I still want to talk to everybody. Well, why would you even bother with a strategy? If you had unlimited market budget and your marketing department were not willing to cut it, having any kind of way to identify the right prospects or the right buyers would be useless. So I hope I made it clear. Finding the right people only helps us if you can't possibly go after everyone. So if you have limited resources. Now back to our example. So you can only make 10 pitches. So you obviously cannot go and talk to everybody. How do you select the 10 people that you should pitch to? Well, one way is you could select them at random. So you just walk up to 10 people at random, give them your pitch and see what happens and see if they are the real buyers. Or you could use a statistical model that assigns everyone at that conference a probability to be the real buyer. Now, how do you use this model? Well, you give everybody a probability score, and then you would select the 10 people that have the highest probability scores, and those are the people that you would approach and give your pitch to. Now, another source of confusion is around how accurate the model needs to be. So let's see what I mean. Let's assume that the people in the green box are the real buyers that we were trying to predict, right? Now, you can see that not all of them have an M. So what that means is that the model only identified some of them. And to be precise, it identified 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, in terms of accuracy, that would be 4 out of 10 buyers. It's only 40%, and that's not great. And sometimes that's the way the clients think. But who says that we need accuracy? So here, what's really important. It is true that the model only identified 4 out of 10 possible buyers, but it's also true that the random methodology would have identified only one of them. So you did 4 times better using the model. And that's really what's important. As long as the model consistently outperforms your current methodology, and as long as the amount by which it outperforms it justifies the cost of development and maintenance, well, it's no-brainer you should use the model. So now let me give you an example of an acquisition model that we developed for an actual client. And as always, I will keep the client's name confidential, but the numbers are real numbers. So the case study that I will be discussing today is Jake's Grocery Store. Now, let me give you a little bit of background on the client. So Jake's is an online grocery store, and they operate mainly in New York, but also in other areas in the Northeast. Now, every year they run a major direct mail acquisition campaign. So basically what they do, they buy a list of prospects from one of the data providers, and then they send each prospect, well, they send some prospects on the list a direct mail coupon. Would you like to join us? 50% off the first purchase, something like that. Usually the list of prospects is around 950,000 names. However, historically, Jake's hasn't had the budget to target more than 15% of their population, which is roughly 140,000 customers per year. So out of 950,000 people on that list, they can target usually 140,000. When they came to us with this problem, their current customer lifetime value was $2,225 per customer, and that was a decrease of 4.8% from the previous year. So obviously they wanted to know, why have we experienced the drop in customer lifetime value, and what can we do about it? So obviously, the first thing we did was to look at their data, right? And this is what happened. They were able to target, to send a piece of direct mail, an offer in the mail, to roughly 140,000 people every year. However, what happened is that in the 3-year period that we observed, the people that left the company were more than the people that they were able to acquire. So they were not able to acquire enough new customers to make up for those that were leaving, and that's why their profits and their customer lifetime value was dropping. So what we did for them was to develop a supervised learning algorithm that basically used data on people that had purchased during previous campaigns to assign the new prospects on the list the probability of becoming buyers. So the target variable was buy or no buy, whether or not the historical customers have responded to a mail offer. And the explanatory variables were age, household income, gender, marital status, number of kids, whether or not the person on the list was a homeowner, and so forth. And basically, the idea was for the machine learning to create a bunch of weights that, once combined, form some kind of line that successfully separates the population of the buyers from the non-buyers. Using that model, we assigned every person of the 950,000 people on that list, on the prospect list, everybody got a probability score, and that indicated the probability of them responding to an offer and buying, subscribing to the service if they received the offer. So now I understand that Jake's only had enough budget to go to target 150,000 people on that list. So obviously we told them, why don't you start with the person that has the highest probability score and just keep going down the list until you exhaust all the marketing budget. Now, they did that for the upcoming campaign. And at the end of the year, we tracked how they did, and we noticed that the response rate was 2.64%, and that's a full percentage point better than the previous 3 years. Now, I understand that 1% may not seem like a lot, but actually it translates into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Obviously, the model did a really good job at predicting who was going to become a buyer, and the number of newly acquired customers, the number of acquisitions went up substantially. Now, before we even discuss how these the higher number of acquisitions affected the customer lifetime value for Jake's, I want to introduce you to an associate of ours that helps with model development, the Ceteris Paribus Fairy. Now, Paribus has superpowers. Now, he can hold all things constant. That's his superpower. And you may think that it's not the coolest of superpowers, but it's really needed to make sure that some factors don't change too much from campaign to campaign. And remember that the model is built on historical information. So any substantial change in any of these factors, and probably more than these, such as the amount of discount that you're giving a client that you're giving a prospect to incentive them to become a client, or the number of pieces of mail that you send them, and so forth, right? Any changes in any of these factors can really affect the model predictions. And sometimes Paribus does not do a great job at keeping everything constant, and during those times, you really need to be working with experts that understand how any change in any of these factors mentioned above will impact your model predictions. So back to the results. We were successful in acquiring more customers. Now, because future profits from newly acquired customers are part of the CLTV formula, obviously the CLTV value for the average customer also went up for Jake's. In fact, at the end of this modeling effort, the CLTV for their clients went from $2,225 to $2,387, which is an increase of 7.3%. Now, to be completely honest, it didn't go up 7.3% only because we acquired more customers. It was also because we didn't lose as many customers because we also built a churn model for them to predict the customers that were at risk of leaving. Now, that's a completely different topic, and I'm going to leave that one for the next presentation. What have we learned? The machine learning, if well implemented, will help you acquire the highest number of new customers for your budget and also increase the customer lifetime value. Well, machine learning is extremely useful, but you've seen how complex it can be to design and deploy a model. Now, I would love to discuss how you're currently using your analytics in your company and see if maybe we can be of any help, and we can help you in your efforts to increase your customer base. What I would do, I would try and understand exactly what kind of business problem you're trying to solve, translate that business problem into a machine learning problem, and then I would develop a comprehensive strategy, and we would discuss it with you and decide if we want to move forward or not. So I hope you enjoyed this little presentation, and please, if you have any comments or any questions about this presentation, feel free to contact me, and I'll be more than happy to answer any question you might have. So we've gone through great length to acquire the customers, right? And the next step in the value creation equation is to increase profits from the existing customers. So retaining the existing customers is essential to maximize future profits. So next time we'll see how machine learning can also help in detecting who, as well as why, is at risk of churning, so that you can take the appropriate corrective action before the customer actually leaves. So I hope you will be joining me for the next webinar for part 3 of this series, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much.